Dealings in the Dark, Cursed Souls, Book 1. Written by Samantha Moran. Performed by Paige Reisenfeld. Dedication. This novella is dedicated to my mother, Denise. You have always loved creepy stories. You are the reason I learned to enjoy the paranormal and not to fear the monsters on the page and screen. I love you, and I hope you enjoy this horror story written especially for you. Note from the author. Dealings in the Dark is an occult horror novella that deals with the dangerous consequences of magic. As such, the story you are about to read contains graphic scenes depicting physical violence, gore, mention of the death of a parent and grandparent, mention of child death and harm, limited depictions of dementia, and depictions of demonic creatures and forces. If any of these topics are disturbing to you, you may not wish to proceed with this book. Chapter 1. The box in my hand rattles as I quickly walk down my old road beneath the light of an early autumn moon. The stars in the sky tonight are absolutely stunning. The air is still warm and humid, and the leaves have just begun to change. There is a refreshing breeze that causes the branches of the old willows to sway back and forth, almost as if they are dancing. The bits of gravel under my feet crunch against the soles of my worn Chucks, announcing my presence to anyone and anything that cares enough to listen. Were I out here for any other reason, I might find my stroll enjoyable, leisurely even. I might listen to the frogs and crickets in the swampy underbrush tell their stories of the day. I might sit underneath one of the willows and drink a hot cider. I've done those things many times before. But tonight, nothing about this walk is enjoyable. Every movement in the shadows makes me jump. Every crunch in the woods steals my breath and makes my whole body buzz with anxiety. I need to get this done fast. The night is not safe anymore. I hear a strangled whisper in the distance as the creature calls out my name. I'm not stupid enough to turn around and look. Not this time. It almost had me before. I won't acknowledge it again. If I do, it will mean the end for me. The creature has caught my scent and has been stalking me for weeks. If it knows I can hear it, that I can see it, it will only make the hunt that much more thrilling. There will be no help for me. I'm not ready to die. The sounds of running water fill my ears as I approach the creek, and the road veers sharply off to the left. I follow the path, staying as close to the water and as far away from the trees on the other side as the road allows. For whatever reason, the creature is afraid of the water. Whenever I approach the creek, it always backs away. The sound of its strangled cries grows softer as the creek burbles. I allow myself one deep breath to calm my nerves as I hug the water's edge. I relish the sense of momentary safety. It won't last long. Before me, the road splits into a fork. To the left, it hugs the bank of the creek and promises continued safety. But that is not the path that I need to follow. I hold the cigar box tightly to my chest as I test the wood of an old rickety bridge that leads off the right. I haven't crossed this bridge in years, not since I was young. The boards squeak in protest as I step forward, but to my relief, they bear my weight. I move slowly, tiptoeing from one board to the next and stepping over the places where planks have fallen into the water below. The bridge isn't long or terribly high, and the creek isn't deep, but it is fast-moving right now, and if I were to fall in here, I would be in serious trouble. There's no one who would find me here, at least not until the morning. I'm running out of time. I don't know how long the water will keep the beast at bay. Not indefinitely, I'm sure. I can't do this with the creature on my heels. As I reach the end of the bridge and step onto the clay path on the other side, I desperately want to turn around to see if the beast has abandoned its hunt. My whole body fights to do so as I continue to force it forward toward my destination against every instinct of self-preservation. Out here, alone in the dark, I am easy prey, and leaving my back unguarded feels so very wrong. I pick up speed, ducking underneath wild overgrowth and dodging debris from the last thunderstorm. The scents of decayed leaves and wet soil overwhelm my senses. I'm almost there. Almost. Ahead, I can see my destination. Like a guardian, the old one-room schoolhouse looms over a four-way split in the path, the structure long since abandoned. In the light of the moon, it casts a shadow so long that the path is almost consumed. The school's double doors swing on their rusty hinges, grinding and groaning with the light breeze. No one has cared for or claimed this space in years. It's perfect for what I must do now. There will be no interruptions or distractions. Eager to reach my destination, I break into a run, and the rattling of the box intensifies as its contents bounce against the thin cedar sides. 30 feet, 20 feet, 10. I skid to a halt at the center of the crossroads and fall to my knees, out of breath. Stones planted deep within the clay dig into my shins painfully, but I don't care. I made it to the crossing. The first part of my task is complete. I tentatively let out a sigh of relief. I shift on my knees, twisting to retrieve an old spade and a lighter from my back pocket. I drop the lighter on the ground beside me. I use my hands to clear away the rocks and sticks in front of me before retrieving the spade and piercing it into the clay repeatedly, loosening the soil until I can dig up the earth and pile it by the side of the hole. Once the hole is deep enough, I drop the spade beside the lighter and open the cigar box. I scan the contents again, just to make sure that nothing was lost on my journey. It's all there. Dandelion leaves, wormwood, mandrake root, smoky quartz, a lock of my hair, a large black candle, and a small vial of my blood. I pull the candle out of the box and close it up, then place the box into the hole, burying it and patting the clay down firmly on top. My hands shake as I place the candle atop the freshly turned earth. I close my eyes and feel for the lighter, lifting it up and squeezing it firmly in my hand. I pray to whoever might be listening that this will work. It has to. I don't know what else to do. I summon thee. I whisper my command. Cross over into this plane. Hear me. I follow this with the difficult Latin words from my grandmother's near ancient grimoire, repeating them 5 times, then once more uttering my command. I summon thee. Cross over into this plane. I flick open the lid of the Zippo, springing to life a bright blue flame. Hesitantly, I tip the flame against the wick of the candle until it catches. Smoke curls up from the flame, gray and thick. It sparks, and the flame shoots high up into the air. Black wax drips down the side and puddles onto the clay below, spreading out from the candle and spilling toward me like a winding snake. I pull myself up from my knees to stand and watch as the wax drips farther and farther away from the source until it connects with my shoe. The ritual is working. I take a step back, then skirt the candle and approach the old building. Cautiously, I scan the inside before entering. Old wood and metal tablet desks are tipped onto their sides. The place smells of mildew and rot. A large slate board, still bearing the marks of my childhood drawings, lines the farthest wall. Moonlight streams in through holes in the ceiling, and the breeze whistles through spaces between the boards. It's empty. I close the doors firmly behind me as I step inside, shoving an old busted table in front of them to keep them from opening of their own accord. It isn't much, but I hope that it will at least slow the creature down when it finds me. I just need it to buy me time. It's quiet in the one-room schoolhouse. Only the sounds of my breathing and the creaking beneath my shoes echo in the large abandoned space. I squeeze my black tourmaline and obsidian necklace for protection, a gift from my grandmother, as I pick my way through the remains of the once-loved classroom until I reach the slate board, as far away from the doors as I can be, and I wait. I close my eyes, breathing as quietly as I can, and listen. Moments later, a deep chuckle behind me tells me I am not alone. Chapter 2. Well, hello there. A discordant voice sounds from behind me. What are you doing all the way out here, and in the middle of the night, I might add? You're a long way from home. My breath catches in my chest, and my blood runs cold. I feel the resolve seep out of me as a heavy dread rises up to take its place. Even though I performed the ritual for this exact purpose, every instinct I possess tells me to get out of here, to run as fast as I can and never look back. Yet, as my nature begs me to flee, the floor creaks ominously beneath my shifting weight as I find myself turning slowly to face him. In the shadowy corner, his tall, thin figure leans casually against the chipped and flaking wood paneling. Despite his apathetic stance, something in his posture feels predatory, like a cat watching its prey, waiting for it to make a move so the hunt can begin. My gaze shoots from his polished black boots up to his steepled fingers, held just beneath his pointed chin. The shadows obscure most of his features, but his burning eyes penetrate the darkness, glowing faintly red. What, no welcome? I came a very long way to see you tonight, Alex. The figure pushes himself up and away from the wall gracefully. He tilts his head to the side, watching me closely. When I don't move, rooted in place by my fear, a wide, malicious grin breaks across his face. Razor-sharp teeth gleam white in the moonlight. The sight causes me to take a step backward, and I feel the old slate board press into me as I flatten my back against the far wall. Iroth, I whisper. In the flesh, he squeals happily, dancing forward. He claps his hands together, then, with a flourish, turns in place as though showing off his new attire. Well, someone's flesh anyway. I borrowed the visage. How do you like it? It was chosen especially for you. I don't. At this, his face twists into an image of childlike disappointment, lips pouting and brows furrowed. But I thought you liked this face, pet. You did when we were young. I sought him out. I found him again. Sure, it's a bit older now, but I am not young anymore, and I know what you are, I interrupt forcefully. I lock eyes with him, drawing up every shred of courage I possess. Of course. He nods condescendingly. He reaches down and rights an overturned desk, then slides easily into the seat, throwing his legs up on the wooden table. How could I have forgotten? You must forgive me. It's been so long. Not long enough. He huffs indignantly. If you don't want to play with me, Alex, why did you summon me here? I thought we were going to have some fun. Now it seems like I may need to make my own. You know how I abhor boredom. Iroth leans forward slightly in challenge. Don't you want to play? We could paint this forest with blood if you'd like. All you have to do is ask, and I'll show you how to have a good time." We have very different ideas of what constitutes fun, Iroth. I won't make that mistake again. You preyed on an innocent little girl. You took advantage of my ignorance. I'm not so naive now. Innocent? He asks in mock astonishment. Hardly. Anyway, as I recall, you were the one who told me that the girl deserved whatever was coming to her. You hated her. I only handled the problem. I was 9 years old, I retort. I didn't know who you were or what you were going to do. It was a childhood feud, and you ripped her to shreds right in front of me. He leans back once more and picks at his pointed black nails. Yes, well, I don't see her bothering you anymore. What was her name? Cassandra? Megan? Selena. My voice catches as I whisper her name, a name I have tried to forget for so many, many years. Yes, Selena, he answers, feigning sudden realization with a snap of his fingers. What a beautiful name. She and I had such fun together. I'll remember the experience fondly for all of my days. When I make no move to respond, he adjusts the lapels on his crisp black blazer and stares back at me. Come, sit with me. Apparently, we have matters to discuss. Iroth motions his hand lazily at another desk, and a thick red stream of smoke shoots out from underneath the cuff of his sleeve, lifting the desk and slamming it down in front of him with an echoing thud. It spins to face him, scarring the old wooden floor. A second stream of smoke shoots out from his other sleeve and snatches me around the waist, drawing me closer to him with impossible force. I resist, digging the heels of my worn shoes into the wood and scrambling for purchase as I slide helplessly past the abandoned schoolmaster's desk. But it's futile. The tendril lifts me into the air and dumps me unceremoniously into the desk chair. The impact is jarring, and already I can feel a bruise forming on my tailbone. I growl at him in frustration, and this only makes him laugh. Tell me, Alex, why am I here? I do have things to attend to, you know. Deals to make, souls to collect, people to kill. What could you possibly want? The old desk is small, and I struggle to arrange myself, spinning to tuck my legs beneath the table. I grip the seat's edges firmly, trying to push myself out of it, but I find myself incapable of standing. Whatever magic he used to deposit me here remains, wrapped around my arms and legs, pinning them down. I am as helpless to escape his grip now as I had been all those years ago. Frustrated, I blow a piece of hair out of my eyes and snap, I want you to call off your beast. Which beast? He asks innocently. He lifts his eyebrows and tilts his head to the side. I have so many. You will have to be much, much more specific, pet. Annoyance begins to override my fear, and though I know that I should tread carefully with him, I spit, the one that's eating all of my chickens and stalking me through the woods at night. The one that reeks of rotten eggs and burns footprints into my front porch. You know, the one that chased me nearly a mile 3 days ago and tried to break into my house? That one. Oh, he taunts, laughing maliciously. You must mean Cece. She is a feisty little thing. In fact, she's one of my favorites. Cece? I scoff. What? You don't like the name? I find it quite amusing. I struggle to break free of the desk once more, unwilling to be the subject of his derision. I don't care what the stupid hound's name is, I grunt. Ugh! I should have known better than to fight my restraints, but my stubbornness and anger are getting the best of me. Out of breath, I demand, just call it off and leave me the hell alone. That wasn't the deal, he says, suddenly serious. He reaches into the pocket of his blazer and retrieves a roll of parchment. On either end, ornate copper metalwork patinated with age sparks. The parchment releases, rolling down to the floor and away from Iroth, slowing to a stop as it bumps against my toes. See? What deal? I ask, incredulous. I never made a deal with you. Oh, but you did, he says, voice laced with venom. And now, pet, I'm calling it in. You can read it if you'd like. It's all there, signed in your very own blood. Mmm. He inhales. It still smells so delicious. Iroth waves his hand, and the invisible force restraining me lightens. I lean forward and scoop up the end of the roll of parchment, squinting and straining to read the heavily slanted cursive. There at the bottom, written in dried crimson, is my name. Alexandria Claire Hendricks. I never signed this, I shout, irate. What is this, Iroth? Our arrangement, he laughs, amusement returning to his features. He gestures toward the parchment, and it abruptly rolls itself back around the thin copper bar. He gingerly tucks the contract back into his pocket with a smirk. As if quoting the text, using a voice that perfectly mimics my own 9-year-old self, he says, I, Alexandria Claire Hendricks, agree to abide by the terms and agreements of this contract, to be completed at such a time and in such a manner as required by Iroth, demon of the abyss. I bind the contract with my blood, and stake upon it my mortal soul should the terms and agreements not be satisfied in full. I would have remembered signing a contract with you, I yell. Furious, I try to stand and step forward, but the invisible force of Iroth's magic returns, slamming me backward in my seat so violently that the desk skitters several feet across the floor. The force of the impact steals my breath. I sputter and cough, trying to reclaim the lost air. You would think so, yes, he states, watching me. After all, I remember it so clearly. Poor little Selina, lying dead in a thick, sticky puddle of her own blood in the middle of your grandmother's basement. I did some of my best work on her, you know. Dismemberment is tricky sometimes. So when you demanded that I fix it and bring her back, well, I was absolutely disheartened. I wanted you to like it, pet. I did it all for you. I open my mouth to speak, but one sharp look from him has me closing it again. You begged me to bring her back to life. Don't you remember? Of course, And I did that, didn't I? Yes, but... And before that, do you remember when I sat down beside you and offered you my blade? I struggle to reach back through 18 years of repressed memories. Memories I have spent years in therapy trying to forget. Then, Iroth snaps his fingers. The scene from my childhood appears before us like a misty movie projected into the thin air. Iroth leans back, watching with glee. There is so much blood. The carpet is soaked. It makes squelching sounds as I run forward to Selina, horrified. I feel it squish between my toes and coat the soles of my feet. I sob and sob, all while Iroth, whom I believed to be a young boy of my age named Carter, watches with an evil smirk. I beg and plead for Selina to wake up. I barely understand what I am seeing. Things that should have been inside of her are splayed out around her like morbid wings. I try to stuff it back in. The smell. Oh, the smell. Then there's the knife. He offers it to me, and I stare at him, seeing for the first time what he really is. Do you really want her to come back? Iroth, then Carter, asks. I can bring her back for you.
All you have to do is owe me a favor. That's not so bad, right?
A favor? I sniffle, trying to wipe away tears and smearing blood across my cheeks.
Just a favor, nothing more,
He answers, reaching into his backpack and pulling out a small, spiral-bound notebook.
If you prick your finger and put it right here, I can bring her back, and all you'll owe me is one little favor, okay? Do you want to do that?
You'll bring her back?
I'll bring her back. Though if you ask me, it seems like such a waste. It's your decision. A favor for Selena's life, or,
He points.
she stays like this.
I nod and extend my hand, accepting Iroth's blade. As I prick my finger, Iroth hungrily snatches it up, squeezing a droplet of blood onto the college-ruled paper and pressing my finger down, leaving a bloody print behind. Before my eyes, I see the fingerprint shift and change. The swirls expand and contract until they form the wet, crimson letters of my own name. Iroth waves his hand over the padlet, and it morphs into the roll of parchment, which he quickly stuffs inside of his backpack. With a wave of his hand, the gruesome carnage before my younger self disappears. Selena stirs behind us, clutching her stomach and chest, eyes wide with terror. She looks up at me, and when her eyes fall on Iroth, she screams, sliding herself back into the corner with her feet and covering her head. I run to her to comfort her, but she cowers and shrinks away from my touch. She rocks back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I look back to where Carter had been, but he is gone, nowhere to be seen, as if he had never even been there in the first place. I scramble over to the house phone and call 911. The paramedics come first, then the police. My friend is loaded onto a stretcher and strapped down. After they take her away, I never see Selena again. I made a deal with Iroth. How had I forgotten? As you can see, pet, you did indeed make a bargain with me, Iroth asserts, his voice breaking through my haze. He waves his hand once more, and the misty image dissolves. I was 9. I didn't know what I was doing. You murdered my friend, and I just wanted her back. You preyed on me. You used me. Be that as it may, he replies, swiftly rising and approaching me with that same cat-like grace. You made a deal. You signed it in blood. You placed your own mortal soul as collateral. And now, after all these years, it's time for you to pay up. I'm calling in your contract, Alex. So, what will it be? Are you going to do that teensy little favor for me, the one that you promised to do all those years ago? Or are you going to hand over your soul? I'm sure Cece would be thrilled to collect it for me. At this, the doors to the schoolhouse burst open, splintered wood spraying into the room. I duck, barely dodging a huge chunk of debris. It slams into the old slateboard behind me and fractures into little pieces. With a heavy thud, the remaining wood falls to the floor, ripped off of its hinges. Burning eyes appear first, then hulking, churning shadows emerge, blowing out steaming breath. The shadows quickly coalesce into the solid form of a muscle-bound, spiny hound. Patches of flesh have been ripped away from the beast's side, exposing shining bone and fibrous tissue beneath the creature's skin. The scents of rotting flesh and sulfur fill the room, making my head spin and threatening to force me to revisit my last meal. I cover my nose and scoot the desk away, but Iroth approaches me menacingly. He leans forward until his face is almost touching my own, pinning me to the desk with his hands on either side of the chair. You choose, pet. he says with a sick smile. Either hold up your end of the deal or be ripped to shreds by my favorite hound. I'll have fun either way. Chapter 3. I watch helplessly as the hound stalks forward, head low to the ground, with its mangled and pointed ears tipped back, teeth gnashing and grinding. Iroth releases his grip on the chair and moves to stand behind me, leaving the space between myself and the beast wide open. I'm exposed and vulnerable, and panic sets in as the beast snaps its gaping mouth and licks its lips. Firmly grabbing my shoulders, Iroth shoves me even farther back into the seat. He stares down at me, face split from ear to ear in a manic grin. His pointed black nails dig into my flesh, puncturing my clothes and sinking deep into my muscle. I struggle to free myself from his grasp, but between the invisible bonds and his powerful hands, my efforts are futile. Iroth laughs mercilessly as I wriggle like a worm on a hook. The hound's huge claws leave long, deep gouges in the rotting wood with each heavy step. Thick, blood-tinged slime and foaming drool leaks out of its mouth, forming a disgusting trail along the floor. I grunt and desperately pull at Iroth's hands, but he digs his nails in deeper each time I resist. I'm so very glad that you called me here tonight, pet. I had intended to leave the theatrics to Cece alone, but what a show I would have missed. The sound of your terror is absolute music to my ears. Iroth sings, leaning in closer until his face is only inches from my own. There's nothing like feeling you squirm beneath my grasp. You know, I have an entire legion of agonized souls in my domain, but you, well, you are my favorite. I cannot wait to add you to the collection. We will spend eternity enjoying little games like these. Doesn't that sound grand? I I force myself to grind out. Do not belong to you. I heave my body forward and somehow break away from Iroth's grip, overturning the desk and rolling away, landing on my side with a resounding thump. Even away from his grasp, the unseen restraints remain. Above me, Iroth rubs his hands together as if cleaning off grime. Not yet, he says confidently, but you will. He returns to his desk and sits down, watching me with unabashed interest. His expression is saturated with amusement as he leans off to the side and almost lovingly swipes his hand along the hound's bony spine. You are a stubborn one, he muses. I thought I was about to experience an entire evening of absolute boredom, and yet I find that I will thoroughly enjoy watching her snap your bones and devour your flesh. That is, unless you would like to follow through with our little arrangement. It's your choice, of course. What will it be? The hound reaches me, bringing its head down level with my own. It roars, and my skin crawls as its putrid, moist breath blows across my face, reeking of death. I gag and try to turn my body away, continuing to struggle against my bonds. The beast stands on its haunches, and hot drool slips down onto my face. I see its swift movement, but I do not have enough time or mobility to react. It raises its front paw high into the air, then slams it down on my leg with the full weight of its body. I scream as searing pain blasts through me, spasming as the bone snaps and my flesh rips open. Blood spurts, then oozes out onto the floor. Horrified, I see the creature lower its head and lap my blood up off the floor. Iroth leans back in his chair, grinning wickedly at the intensity of my pain. Are you ready to discuss my terms? "Ugh!" I yell, trying and failing to tear my leg away from the hound. It simply places its paw on top of my thigh, rendering my leg incapable of movement, then sinks its fangs deep into my flesh. I scream again, and the creature growls, then tugs me closer, dragging me across the floor with its powerful jaws. "What I require of you is really quite simple," Iroth continues. He raises his eyebrows and tilts his face as the hound shakes its head violently, teeth still sunk deep into my muscles, shredding them. "Consider it a scavenger hunt, if you will. Someone has something that I want, and all you have to do is claim it for me." "What do you want?" I cry through excruciating pain as the hound clamps down even harder. Its razor-sharp fangs scrape against my bone, sending brutal vibrations zinging through my body. So she can be reasonable," he quips. "I didn't know if you had it in you." The hound growls deeply once more, but Iroth shushes it. "Down, girl," he commands. "All in good time." It releases my leg and turns to face him, blowing hot steam impatiently into the air, then whips its head back to me, pressing its short, scaly nose into my own. "Ah, Cece, you bad, bad girl. I said down!" The building shakes with the volume of his command. Dust drifts lazily down from the ceiling, sparkling with ironic beauty in the moonlight as the vicious creature reluctantly backs away and curls up at Iroth's feet. Its eyes flare red and orange as it regards me with obvious hunger. I force my own eyes away and watch as my blood soaks the floor, dripping between the cracks of the boards. Though I try to contain it, I can't help but whimper at the burning ache in my thigh. I will my leg to move, but as hard as I try, it remains static. Traitorous tears slide down my face as I cast my eyes back to Iroth. He's leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, looking for all the world as though this is the happiest night of his life. "What do you want?" I whimper. "What do you want?" "Something that was taken from me long, long ago, pet. A ring. Just a little silver ring. It's mine, and I will have it back. You will retrieve it for me." "A ring?" I groan. "You would kill me for a stupid ring?" Anger flashes across his features so quickly that I almost miss it. "It is not a stupid ring." In response to his anger, the hound rises from the floor and towers over me threateningly. I flinch, but Iroth guides it back down beside him. He strokes its head absently, and the creature nuzzles into him with a snort. "What's so important?" I grit out as agony once more flashes through me. "About this ring? Why would you try to kill me for it?" "That," he says, relaxing back into his casual state and tapping his fingers on the table, "is not important. And, pet, I think you forget that I would absolutely love to kill you regardless. I've learned a few new tricks since I visited you last, and I'm just dying to show you. Should I allow Cece to demonstrate one of my newest hobbies? See, it involves something like making balloon animals, but with your—" "That will not be necessary," I hiss angrily, clutching at my thigh to slow the bleeding. "How am I supposed to find your ring anyway?" "I'm certain that finding it will be easy enough," he says, without even a hint of concern. "After all, it is currently in your grandmother's possession. How's that for a simple task, pet? All you need to do is take it from her and return it to me." A mirthless laugh escapes my lips before I can call it back. "If you know where it is, why don't you just go get it yourself?" "Alas, I cannot," he answers, irritation clear in his expression. "After our last encounter, your grandmother warded herself and your home against me. and my ring. In fact, she warded you against me as well. That has proven a particular puzzle for me, as I intended to satisfy our contract ages ago. But try as I might, you were just out of my reach. It seems that your summoning spell tonight finally allowed me access to you. I should have sent Cece after you years ago. If I had known you would cave to the pressures so quickly. I wince as the full force of my own stupidity sets in. I thought summoning Iroth was my only escape from the Hellhound, but it was a trap, one I too easily stepped into. I should have known better. How could I have been so foolish? Anyway, he says with a sigh, as much as it will pain me, if you bring me what I desire, I will spare your life. Bring me my ring, and I will destroy your contract. You'll be free to live the rest of your miserable human life without wondering if I will ever darken your door again. The slick, hot blood continues to seep out of my wounds, sliding through my fingers. I focus on my breathing, trying to slow my racing heart in hopes of staunching the flow. I'm beginning to feel cold and clammy. A shiver sets in, and my teeth clack together loudly. I allow my eyes to roll back into my head for just a moment, then force them to open. The darkness of sleep is calling to me, but I know that if I give in now, that will be it. I won't let that happen. I can't find your damn ring if you let me bleed out on the floor, I spit, with as much venom as I possess. Iroth, help me. So you'll follow through with your part of the bargain, then? He asks. His eyes narrow and snag my own. He slides out of the desk and onto the floor, then crouches over me possessively. You've made your choice? I'll find your ring. Oh, goody! He shouts. I flinch again as he claps and flourishes his hand, waving it over my body. Surges of lightning spark through my skin, and I shriek, unable to control myself. My bones snap back into place like puzzle pieces. My muscles reform, and my skin stitches itself back together. I seize up in the face of such intense pain, and when I feel the invisible bonds slacken, I immediately roll to my side and vomit, expelling every ounce of my stomach without shame. There. All better, pet. That's all you had to say. A deal's a deal, after all. I snap my head back to Iroth and glower, pure fury flowing out of my eyes so intensely that I'm sure he can feel it. He drags his finger through the puddle of my blood on the floor, then brings it to his lips and licks the crimson liquid off, smacking his lips in delight. You are delicious in every way. I almost hope you fail, Alex. I would love to devour you completely. I shudder as he rises and backs away, retreating toward the door. 2 days, he says, without looking back. I expect my ring will be returned before the height of the full moon. If it's not, he says, stopping. He snaps his fingers, and the hound, who has been waiting patiently by his seat, surges toward me and shoves me back against the floor, bearing down on my chest with its meaty paws and pricking my skin with its claws. The paws begin to burn, searing my flesh as they have the wood of my porch. I scream again as my skin sizzles beneath them. The smell of burnt flesh fills my nose as the hound backs away, leaving me spellbound on the floor. I'm sure I do not have to remind you of the fate that awaits you should you fail, he continues. Cece will keep watch over you to ensure that you are indeed following through on our deal. You'll meet me here in 2 nights' time with the ring in hand, or I will claim your soul, pet. I'll be around. I struggle to my feet, clutching the burns on my chest tightly. What if I need your help? I ask, unsure what else to say. Don't, is all he says, before waving his hand at Cece, who bounds toward him. He turns to face me and bows flamboyantly before stepping out into the night, leaving me speechless and alone in the middle of the schoolhouse.